Hello everybody, I am Francesco Bonami, the curator of Maurizio Cattelan The Last Judgment, the first major retrospective of the artist's work at the UCCA in Beijing. I'm very honored to be the curator of this spectacular exhibition, and I'm very happy that I was invited to do this show in an institution like the UCCA. I'm very sorry that I can't be there. I mean, it's been an amazing journey, but unfortunately a virtual journey. I hope that I will be able to come soon and see the exhibition in person. To create this exhibition, we had to put in play many energies, many forces, and many eyes. Without the help of all the UCCA staff, Kaiyun and all her colleagues that helped me to construct the exhibition together with the artist Maurizio Cattelan in a way that I never did before. We built up the entire exhibition first with models, images, then with digital rendering, and then to many Zoom meetings in the space to figure out how to make a show that would be memorable. It is the first time that Maurizio Cattelan shows his work in, let's say, a neutral space. He did many exhibitions, but always were in dialogue with the architecture that was kind of leading the path of the show. The famous exhibition at the Guggenheim Museum, where he hanged all his work from the ceiling of the Rotonda. A show at La Monnaie in Paris, where a very particular building, each work was dealing with a different space, a different architecture, a different context. Here we were able to create our own context. We decided, for example, not to create rooms, but to leave the space open, divided like ancient ruins by just low walls. So when you enter the show, you will be able to grasp it in one glance and then start your journey, step by step, work by work, finding your way into the work of Maurizio Cattelan. You will be able to establish a dialogue with each of the work that will not be influenced by the space. So the relationship will be you and the work in this kind of inner conversation that each visitor will be able to have with the work of one of the greatest Italian artists around. And I can say this, he didn't say that, the artist, the most famous artist after Caravaggio coming out of Italy. I know it sounds quite grandiose and maybe preposterous, but in fact, you know, Maurizio Cattelan is as famous as Caravaggio. There are many good artists coming out of Italy in the courts between Caravaggio and Maurizio Cattelan, but artists that have an impact worldwide, globally, are very difficult to find. Maurizio Cattelan became an artist by mistake, by chance. But then slowly he started, like say, learning how to be a very good artist, a brilliant artist. He understood long time before the social media came, familiar tools, that art need to function remotely. You know, art can reach places of the world, can reach people all over the world that have the possibility to travel and see the art in person. So from the very beginning of his career, he started thinking about works that could be transformed into images without losing their essence. And I think that's a fantastic thing. You know, Cattelan is an artist and a communicator, a provocator, a prankster, but he talks always about issues that belong to the individual. He talks not about gender, not about race, not about nationality. He talks about the individual with all his complexity, with all his fear, with all his pleasures, desires, failure, and successes. So he basically talked to each of us in a different way. So each of us can find something in the work of Maurizio Cattelan that has something to do with our own life. And yet, is so much about himself. The show is full of self-portraits, you know. It's him. He became his own character. He became a mask. And he became recognizable. At the beginning of his career, he was trying not to appear. He was trying not to show his face. Still now, you know, he refused to do a video for this press conference. Not because he doesn't want to participate, but because he has a form of shyness. He has a form of phobia toward performing in public officially. So he asked me to basically be his voice. But at the beginning of his career, he was really using other people. People were confused at the beginning of the career of Maurizio Cattelan about who was the artist really. Sometimes the curator Massimiliano Gioni was impersonating him, sometimes other people. It was not clear if Maurizio Cattelan existed really. Let's say that he was already what Banksy has become nowadays, but you know, obviously is not even comparable to Banksy. Maurizio is a great artist. Banksy is an interesting phenomenon. But we are not here to compare apple with oranges. We are here to talk about an exhibition that I think will mark Maurizio Cattelan's career in a very strong ways. We tried to make a selection of work that could represent him in the best way, and we think that we succeeded into this this task. I have to thank, you know, many people, Jacopo Zino and Lucio Zotti, that work for from the archive and provided all the work in perfect shape to be presented. I have to be thankful to Philip Tinari, who is the director of UCCA and been supporting this exhibition all the way along. I have to thank Simon Frank for the catalog and all the work that has been done for communication. I have to thank the public program people. I apologize if I don't remember each person name, but I really thank all of them. They are creating a public program with many speakers that will talk about the work of Maurizio Cattelan. I have to thank the press people that that are communicating and creating graphics and merchandising from this show. And of course, you know, I have to be thankful to all those people that I don't know, but that they were able to install the work in the exhibition. Not an easy exhibition. They have to dig holes in the concrete. They have to create new walls specific for center work, very complicated to assemble. So all these people were essential in the realization of this show. And I have to thank the fruit stand that were weekly bananas will be acquired to replace the banana of his most famous work to date, Comedian. I know Maurizio probably doesn't like the idea that a banana is most recognizable work. When he did the banana, I don't think he could imagine the impact that he would have had into the world, not only of the arts, but the world of communication. So it's kind of still coping with this idea that he will probably be remembered in art history for a banana, not for many other works that really took much more effort and reflect much more his soul, his spirit, his vision. But you know that sometimes artists are their own worst enemy. They create things that they cannot control. And Maurizio didn't create it, but you know, he put on the wall on a banana. The banana took the life of itself, and now is something more than a simple banana. But the show clearly is not about the banana. The title of the banana is a little bit one of the line of the exhibition, comedian, because comedian is a very specific figure. Is not an actor, is not a dramatic actor, and is not a normal person. Is someone in between the viewer and the actor. You know, it has a very invisible thin barrier that separates him or her from the audience. And when this invisible barrier collapses, which means the joke doesn't work, the pun doesn't work, the comedian fails. And so comedian is all about success and failure in a very, very delicate balance. And I think all the work of Maurizio walks on this invisible rope between the joke and the existential, between life and death, between the fall and the rise. So I think that this exhibition gives and will give to the audience much more than what they expect. I hope so. You know, curators are basically well paid, and not always well paid, interior decorators. You know, they work for the artist, and my job has been that one, to work for Maurizio and understand how his work could be presented is a completely new context, like the one of Beijing and the UCCA. Maurizio never had an exhibition of this scale in China, and I think this it's exceptional. And I'm very curious to know how the public will respond to his work. You know, it's always surprising the different kind of reaction that each individual viewer could have and will have in front of Maurizio Cattelan's work. I'm working with Maurizio since I met Maurizio long time ago, or almost probably 30 years ago, in the early 90s, in New York. We became acquaintance. We were both struggling figures in the art world. I was a failed artist and a young critic and upcoming curator. He was a self-made artist, and we were hanging around the East Village with not so much money, but with a lot of ideas and enthusiasm, which we didn't shed in getting older. We still have a lot of enthusiasm, and we still have a lot of ideas, maybe not as fresh, as good as we had them 30 years ago, but there are still ideas, and there is always discussion between me and you. There is this kind of love-hate affair with me. I wrote very badly about him on Italian newspaper, but I also praised him. So let's say that there is almost a sentimental relationship between us. We are both lovers and haters at the same time, and we always exchange idea. I try to help him in creating not a narrative, but like a kind of frame around the work, and he surprised me always, Maurizio, all the time with new point of views on reality and new approach on art. It's formidable. So after 30 years, I invite him at the Venice Biennale in 1993, and I have to say that I should have known that this guy would have been trouble, because I invite him in 1993 at the small section of Aperto in the Corderia, the long building where they used to do the ships for the Republic of Venice in the 15th and 16th century. And he came and he told me that he didn't have any idea for the show. Like, he didn't have any work. He had an idea, but it wasn't a work. His idea was to sell the space that I gave him to show the work to a perfume company who would have tested a new product inside the Biennale of the Venice. And the title was "Working is a Bad Job." And here you will see it in the show. There is a new version of this work, a more technologically advanced, but the concept is the same. There is a big screen that has been rented to companies and they will run their own ad during the show, and the title is still "Working is a Bad Job." Maurizio always had this kind of conflicting relationship with the idea of working. He's a great worker, but work as a job never really it never was a combination that he liked to embrace. And then again, Maurizio worked 24-hour days, 7 days a week, constantly, and is constantly thinking about his work and the work of other artists, and how to get by, not economically, but get by as an artist. I mean, there is this huge conflict within himself, because a lot of people think that he's not an artist, and a lot of people question is being a real artist. I believe that is a fantastic artist, And I think there's there are some people that are born artists, and some people learn to be artists, and some people find out that in spite of who they are artists. And I think Maurizio is a combination of all these things. You know, maybe he was not an artist, but he was able to become an artist, and while he was becoming an artist, he found out that he was a real artist. So it's up to the audience to understand, and that's why we call it the Last Judgment. It's up to you to judge the work of Maurizio Cattelan, to decide if you think it in which circle of hell or paradise it has to be sent, in the circle of fake artists or in the circle of the great master. I would, you know, I'm biased, I would send it to the circle of the great master. But you know, the viewer, and that's the beautiful thing of art, and the beautiful thing of the art of Maurizio, that each viewer can decide. Is an individual, and each viewer is an individual that can decide what he or she has in front it means, and if the meaning of what there is in front of us, it's a meaning that is related to art, to life, to society, and all the other fields that compose the complexity and the puzzle of human life. And I would say that what you are seeing is the puzzle of human life. Is many pieces that each other, sometimes they are the right piece, they go together, sometimes they are not the right pieces, sometimes there are little holes, we can find those pieces. And I think that's what the practice of Maurizio has been all the time, since 30 years, building a puzzle of reality where he lives, find the pieces they're missing, dealing and coping with those little holes. You know, when you do a puzzle, sometimes you lose a piece and you don't find it, you know, and then after 2 years you find it under a couch. And I think that that's what Maurizio is doing, building the puzzle of his own life and the life of the world. And in this grandiose, delusional attempt, often is able to create great art. And I think that's why, after I say thank you to all of the UCCA team again and again, and I say thank you in advance to all the visitors. I hope many that will come to visit the exhibition. I have to just give one warm thank you to him, the artist, Maurizio Cattelan, because, you know, they are curators, they are museum, they are critics, they are collectors, but all these people wouldn't exist if great artists wouldn't exist. So, Maurizio, thank you very much. Thank you to all of you to being here, and I hope that you'll start a great journey into the Last Judgment of Maurizio Cattelan.